The race for the White House continues with just 99 days until the presidential election. And joining us now to talk about that and some of the other pressing issues facing us here in the islands is Hawaii Representative Ed Case. Congressman, thank you so much for joining us.
Good to be with you. Good to be home.
Yes, definitely. I know it's the last time since we saw you in person. The big news, Kamala Harris, the vice president, on her way to being the nominee for president for the Democratic Party. Where do you stand on that?
I mean, first of all, I do endorse Kamala Harris for vice president, but what I'm reflecting on is just the incredible events of the last 5 weeks in this country. So much change, so much has transpired. And, you know, one of the things that I've reflected on in the last couple of days is how amazing it is that a country can go through that kind of a transition in a short period of time. A lot of resilience, a lot of ability to adapt. I'm proud of President Biden for making the decision he did. I thought he should make that decision. I said so publicly, and he made it. And that's not something that happens in countries around the world. The other countries of the world are shocked that we can go through this kind of transition. But as we all know, for some time now, 75% plus of the voters in this country have not wanted the match of Biden and Trump. And so they're going to get half of that, and it's a good, solid choice for voters to make going forward in the country. But I'm on the Harris side of it, yes.
Right, and then does Biden become a lame duck president in terms of not being able to do much, or conversely, he can do anything he wants at this point? Can he do some bold moves with the months he has left?
Well, I think, you know, knowing President Biden, he's going to stay on course. He's had a great record. You know, he's passed incredible bills. He's had a great foreign policy. He's done a lot of great stuff. His legacy is secure, and I think he plans on building on that legacy and obviously trying to hand the presidency off to the next president, hopefully President Harris, as well as possible. And so I think you can expect him to take a pretty stable path in the next 6 months.
Among some of the things I think people in Hawaii are most grateful to him for are how he stepped in to Maui quickly at our time of need, almost a year ago now. Let's talk about the Lahaina recovery, where are things at?
And of course, we're coming up on the anniversary of a terrible disaster, and President Biden was awesome. His entire federal government. You know, the federal government now has contributed somewhere around $1 billion to the recovery on Maui through disaster assistance, housing, small business loans, $1 billion. And that has been really, really key to getting Maui to where we are today. But we still have a lot of work to do. And my #1 priority right now, along with my colleagues in the congressional delegation, is the Disaster Relief Appropriations Bill, which is still live in Congress right now. This is a massive bill to take care of all of these disasters across this country. The bridge in Baltimore, the wildfires in California, and we are trying to get another $1 billion or so into that bill in community development block grants, which are going to be the building blocks of the actual building back of Lahaina. So that's #1 on the agenda right now.
And would that be billion in the community building grants? Would that be just for Lahaina, or is that a statewide number?
Well, I mean, technically it's statewide, but it's going to go to Lahaina. That's the intention of it. It is specific to disaster relief. So these are block grants that go to disaster relief. So CDBG-DR is our shorthand for it. And that's our request right now. And that's going on right now. We're negotiating it as we speak. I'm involved in it as we speak.
Right, well, thanks for the work you're doing on behalf of the folks in Lahaina. Now, Hawaii made some international news lately with NATO for, you know, having the kind of coverage should Hawaii be attacked. I think people look back and said, that was never a thing before. Where are we at with, you know, Hawaii's status? It was pre-statehood when all that NATO stuff was put together.
Yeah, you know, NATO was enacted in 1949. It was agreed to in 1949. That was a different world. That's 3 generations ago. We didn't have the geopolitical challenge of the People's Republic of China. The focus was on the USSR and really the Atlantic side of things. Was Europe going to get attacked? And it was really, to my mind, really a historical anachronism that the island territories, Hawaii, Guam, Samoa, CNMI, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands, by the way, all got left out of actual coverage under NATO. And so about 2 months ago, I wrote to the Secretary of State, Mr. Blinken, and in so many words said, hey, what about, you know, us? And I just got a very, I think, solid response back from the Secretary of State, who basically said, look, it's pretty much guaranteed that in the event that Hawaii or any of the other areas were attacked, the consultation with our NATO partners would go forward. And of course, we're all in this together, but it's going to be difficult for us to actually amend the NATO treaty to add in Hawaii. And the reason was because we're not the only country in NATO that has territories in the Pacific. So either you just turn NATO into an international treaty for everybody, or you rely upon the reality. And I think this is a reality that you know, our friends in Europe are not going to turn away from us if we get attacked. So there's more work to do on that, but I think it was important to put that issue front and center with the Secretary, especially as NATO celebrated its 75th anniversary.
Sure, and to have that response from the Secretary of State in writing about Hawaii at least gives us that level of assurance.
Yeah.
And again, who would have thought that it wasn't there in the first place? Thanks for pointing that out. Yeah, we are a bit closest to the possible aggressors.
Well, we are the closest, and that is the most possible aggression. And, you know, my last couple of years in Congress, 6 years in Congress actually, have been pretty much all about the People's Republic of China, which 20 years ago, unfortunately, was you know, not the case. And this is our #1 geopolitical challenge. Hawaii has a central role in that. We've seen that, for example, in RIMPAC just in the last couple of weeks with really a very, very successful joint exercise, and 29 partners from around the world who feel as we do that we need to provide deterrence against that challenge.
All right. Well, thank you, Congressman, for being with us and for the work you do for the people.
Thank you so much.